All right, so coterminal angles. So this is Chapter 4, Section 2, Day 3. Coterminal angles. What are they? They share initial and terminal sides. So if your angle is in standard position already, then it's going to always share the initial side. It's the positive x-axis, right? And then the terminal side shows the angle measure. A coterminal angle is going to look the same. The terminal side will line up in the same exact spot. So it's similar to like 1 a.m. and 1 p.m. It looks the same on the clock, even though it's representing two different times. And then the second part is that every angle has an infinite number of coterminal angles. It's because you're going around in a circle. So you can go around a circle and stop, go around the circle, stop again, and again, and again, and again. And you can do that infinite number of times because it's a circle. Okay, so let's look at an example of a coterminal angle. So if I draw a 60-degree angle, 60-degree angle right there. That is 60 degrees. And I want a negative coterminal angle with 60 degrees. So mathematically, equation-wise, I could say I started at 60 degrees, and I want to go around in the negative direction if I want to get a negative value. So minus 360 degrees. Go around around the circle one time in the negative direction, and it's going to be negative 300 degrees. So if I show that on here, from the starting point, if I go around in the negative direction, it's saying that that angle would be negative 300 degrees. And it's coterminal with 60 degrees because it looks the same. But this side is negative 300. So that's coterminal. And another one. Again, I'm going to draw a 60-degree angle. So if I wanted a positive coterminal angle, I would start at 60 degrees, add 360, a positive 360, so go around one whole time, and it should be 420 degrees. So to sketch that, from the beginning, from the initial side, there's the 60, and then if I keep going 360, it ends up right there. So that shows 420 degrees. So 60 degrees, negative 300 degrees, and positive 420 degrees are all coterminal angles. And I could get an infinite number. So there's no way I could list all of them unless I use a special notation that we're not really going to get into. I could never list them all because I could keep going around in the circle. Keep going, subtract another 360, subtract another 360, subtract another 360, and just keep making a list of negative coterminal angles. Or if I want more positives, I would just keep adding 360 and keep adding 360, and I'd keep going forever. All right, so then an example of what your assignment looks like. Identify and sketch a positive and negative coterminal angle? All right, so the book actually, the first line of instructions for the assignment I'm going to give you says list all the positive and negative coterminal angles, but we're not worried about that notation. So kind of ignore that first sentence of instructions. What you're going to do is identify and sketch one positive and one negative coterminal angle. So the first example is if you're given 45 degrees. 45 degrees is where you're starting. If you add one time around the circle, 360 degrees, that equals 405 degrees. So that is a positive coterminal angle with 45. And if I did 45 degrees and I subtracted 360 degrees, then I get negative 315. And that's a negative coterminal angle. I said, and sketch them. If you want to sketch them on the same XY coordinate plane or on separate ones, it doesn't matter to me. Do whichever makes more sense to you. Sometimes it's confusing whenever they're on the same one. That's why I like to do two separate colors. But you can do it however you like. 45 degrees, a positive 45 degree angle is going to be right here. So I'm going to call that 45 degrees. And then I want my positive. So from the initial, that makes 45. And then if I keep going around until I hit that angle mark again, that's 405 degrees. It's 45 and then another 360. If I want to sketch negative 315, start on the initial side, but I'm going to go in the negative direction, and it just brings me to here. There's my negative 315, since it's, I guess, technically greater than negative 360. I don't go around more than once. All right, so if we do it in degrees, then we also need to look at this in radians. So negative pi over 3. If you have negative pi over 3 is your angle, when you go through the same steps, we add one time around the circle. So negative pi over 3 plus one time around the circle in degrees is 360 degrees. So what's one time around the circle in radians? 2 pi, yes. So we're going to add 2 pi. All right, since negative pi over 3 is a fraction, we got to make 2 pi a fraction that we can combine with it. So first make it a fraction by put over 1. But if we're going to add fractions, they have to have a common denominator, right? Since our angle has a denominator 3, it would make sense that we want a denominator of 3. So multiply top and bottom by 3. So now we have negative pi over 3 plus 6 pi over 3. So we have a common denominator of 3. We have negative 1 pi plus 6 pi. So that's the same as saying 6 minus 1. So that's 5. And what are they? They are pi's. So we have 5 pi over 3. And that is going to be my positive coterminal angle. So if I want a negative coterminal angle, I'm going to do the same process, but subtract one time around the circle. So negative pi over 3 minus 2 pi. So I have to make my 2 pi where I can combine it, so it needs to be a fraction. Common denominator, the same steps that I did right here. Multiply by 3 on top and bottom. So that becomes negative pi over 3 minus 6 pi over 3. So my denominator is 3. And I have negative 1 minus 6. So this is negative 7 pi. Negative 7 pi over 3 is my negative coterminal angle. All right, so now I just need to sketch them.
Could you also just make the radian a degree form?
No, I want you to leave it. That's the whole point. Yeah, you got to practice with radians too. That's a good question. Okay, so right now I know you guys aren't sure where pi over 3 is. It's okay. You'll learn. But pi over 3 is the same as 60 degrees. So this is negative. So we're going to go down. Just make sure it doesn't have to be an exact whenever you're sketching these. It's just, as long as it's roughly in the right area in the same quadrant. I mean, these are just sketches, right? So it's roughly about right there. That's where my negative pi over 3 is. So then the positive goes from the initial side, but I'm going to rotate in the positive direction. So it's going to go around this way until we get to that same terminal side. So that's my positive 5 pi over 3. Because if it was 6 pi over 3, it would be 2 pi. Right? So we're a little short. And then the negative coterminal angle, again, we start from the initial side, and we go in the negative direction. We go in the negative direction. When we get to the angle, we're just at negative pi over 3, but we need negative 7 pi over 3. So I'm going to keep going, pass it up, all the way around until we get to that angle again. That would be negative 7 pi over 3. Okay. So your assignment for this is page 238. I want you to do numbers 18 to 25.